And we're live.
And we're live. You should be like our announcer, Ruben. You do much better job than I do.
Yeah. Are they doing the UFC fights, right? And
Right.
we're live.
That's awesome. So, as you can see, we are now live on our wonderful Winners Wednesday session. We've got a really exciting episode today with our famous JB Hawkins, all the way from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and our other famous Mr. Ruben Garcia from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you both for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you guys are always a wealth of knowledge. As you know, we do Winners Wednesday every single week, but we've got JB and Ruben on here as special guests once a month, the second Wednesday of every month. And today we're going to talk about how to generate more leads than you can handle. That's right. I said more leads than you can handle because I think that's the biggest challenge, especially right now, as we've kind of come off of, being drunk in real estate, if you will, and getting into the shift or normal, somewhat of a normal market, as you would call it, is a lot of real estate agents are kind of going back to the basics, as we heard from Glenn Sanford, what was that, a little over a week ago, the founder and CEO of EXP, that it's really important, doesn't matter if you've been in the industry a year, 10 years, or 20 years, that agents now more than ever need to go back to those foundational skills, back to the basics, and almost unlearn what we've learned the last couple of years. So with that said, how do you lead generate in this market? Not only how do you lead generate, but how do you generate more leads than what you can handle, which is going to allow you to start leveraging and building a team and really get off that roller coaster that we call the lovely world of real estate. So let's kick it off. What are you guys seeing in your respective markets right now?
Ruben, I'll let you go first. I've got some notes here, but I'll let you go first.
When you set me up, you're like, well, I have something interesting. Okay, yeah. So, no, I love that. Glenn Sanford came on about a week ago, and he really started to hammer in, like you just said, the basics. So for anybody who's out there, some of the stuff we're going to talk about, we say that the best CRM is the one that you use. So obviously, and he talked about it, is your database, your circle of influence, your core advocates, the people who know you, like you. They don't even have to love you. Those are the ones that you really need to be reaching out to and building a stronger relationship with always. Even on stage at EXPCon, I think it was, who was it? Jarek Robbins. He even said, relationships were the biggest thing for him in Puerto Rico when all the damage came through Puerto Rico. That was a huge eye opener to him, just how important it is. So no matter what we say today, there's going to be a lot of great things, but the core to it is building a database and keeping your core advocates in there and having a systematic conversation and relationship with these people forever.
I love it. And for those of you that don't know, Jarek Robbins is, he's formerly the president of Success Magazine, which, is like the biggest personal development program that's out there. But then also it's Tony Robbins' son, which I think we all know Tony Robbins. So
Success coaching.
Exactly. And anything that he says, I am listening with all ears. So I appreciate bringing that up. JB, what about you?
So I'm going to kind of piggyback off that. I mean, I have taught classes, and I think we've even talked on here about how important your database is. If you don't have one, start building it. I know it can kind of seem overwhelming. My kind of rule of thumb to get started is to just put 10 contacts in a day. But it is following up with your people that know, love, and trust you. We do a lot of love on our past clients. We get a lot of referrals from that. But one of the other big sources that we've used is the networking and the business to business. You've got to get out there and put yourself as a realtor, as somebody that can provide value. You help their business, they're helping your business. And so, those are some of the things that we're doing. Like we're getting ready to have a client event, a client appreciation event in April. And we've already got about 100 people registered. We open it up for them to bring their friends and their family, not just their, if they want to bring their neighbor or their best friend in their family. So I think it's really important to be in contact with your database often.
Micah, are you live? On Facebook and stuff?
Oh.
I'm trying to find it and I can't find it.
Okay, so for some reason it is just saying I'm live on LinkedIn and my Facebook is not.
I was like, yo, there's no one jumping on. And I forgot to share it. And so I was like, oh, I can't even find it.
It
Well,
should be okay. It should be now. I've never had it like it's usually by default. It should be showing now. So, but yes, we were live on LinkedIn. So yep, we should be live on Facebook now. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention.
you're welcome. Because you know
So
I got to pass it to all my peeps too. There it is. I see it.
You see it now? Okay, good. Thanks, Ruben, for letting me know. So, just to kind of recap, we're talking about how to generate more leads than you can handle, and now more than ever, it's incredibly important as a real estate agent, even if you've been in the industry a long time, to go back to the basics, really build those foundational skills. One of the things that Ruben and JB were just talking about was about having the importance of having a database and a CRM and something to work out of, because the reality is it all can't be just here. Now, one thing that I want to pinpoint, because I do a lot of strategy sessions, especially right now with agents within our group, kind of helping them build their business plans and seeing what kind of adjustments we need to make in their business. And one of the things that I've really noticed, and if you've listened to any of my videos in the past, you've heard me talk about this, is prospecting is where we control the outcome, because a lot of times we think we're prospecting or we're lead generating by putting posts on Facebook or social media, or I might have sent out an email newsletter, but that's like throwing a dart at the wall and hoping that it sticks. Prospecting is where we control the outcome. So in real estate, it's really easy to be busy, right, guys? But we want to focus on those income producing activities, which is the prospecting. Now, I've always recommended, and I want your opinion on this, that agents have 3 to 4 what I call lead generation buckets. These are the things that are going to push the needle forward in their business every single day. So what are those income producing activities, lead generation buckets? How do you explain it to your agents and your teams on what activities they should be focusing on now as we're kind of going back to that foundation? Sorry, I had to do a little bit of a recap since since apparently we weren't on Facebook.
Yeah. So for our team, we really focus on just our past clients, number one. So we're always making contact with them, whether that's inviting them to something or asking for referrals. I mean, we just ask. We loved working with them. Of course, would love to work with people just like them. So we ask for referrals. And then right now we're focusing on, we do have internet leads that come in. And so we're focused on those leads. And then really right now, more than anything, we're focusing on open houses. Oh, the open house is back. They were non-existent for 2 years.
Right.
And I'll tell you, we do them pretty consistently. And if you do it the right way and you advertise it, I mean, we're getting 1 to 2 buyers a weekend from that. And that in itself is a huge business right there. But you've got to plan, you've got to put the time in, you've got to hold the open houses the right way.
And speaking of open houses, one of the questions I often get is, okay, well, I did an open house. I do one, one a month or 2 a month, but I may not have gotten any leads from it. And the reality is you've got to double up and do more, right?
Yes.
And it's not just doing them every single weekend. Of course, maybe take a weekend off, but maybe do one on Saturday and Sunday. Or get this, I have agents that do multiple on Sunday. So instead of your typical 2 to 4, maybe 11 to 1 and 1 to 3 and 3 to 5. And so you're getting different crowds, and it's just human nature. If you do more, you're going to generate more leads.
Yeah, and I think doing that Sunday is a great idea. I mean, think about it. You're dedicating 6 hours to potentially get 2 to 3 clients a week. That's a huge business right there in itself. But I always tell people always think of it, the open house is the event, but there has to be some pre-planning, and there has to be things that you're doing throughout the week to get people to the front door.
And then the follow-up, which is going to be a whole nother.
Follow-up is key. Yes.
So Ruben, what about you? I know that you've got a huge team of agents in different markets, and they're all doing it extremely well. What are you seeing that they're doing to start lead generating?
Yeah, we just had one of our agents hit the icon status, so whoop whoop. But we had, I see the same thing. We still have some of our agents who just throw posts out there and kind of ignore a little bit. And if you're watching, you know what I'm talking. Kind of ignore what we talked about and just do the post, and you don't see a lot of interaction on that, right? Because it's one of a million that they're seeing that look very similar and familiar all over again. So, yep, with the foundation of database and the follow-up, as you got people coming into your open house, you get their information, put it in the database and follow up. We are running our comms. We're still running comms. You know, we talked about this probably not too long ago, and this is helping. We've got 4 closings, just like me in our little team. We got it like local. We have 4 closings, and this is just myself and another agent, but 4 closings this week from the comm play. And so what is that? C, community. We talked about that, right? A little bit in the beginning. Go back into your community and start rubbing elbows with community leaders, people that are putting on events. We've got people that are veterans here and active duty, but veteran type of organizations. And we have veteran agents and active duty, but veteran agents. And they're like, man, I want to do more with the veteran community. I'm like, man, we live near Fort Bragg. So guess what? There's a lot of that going on. And so they're going back into the community and doing what they love and rubbing elbows with the people they like. And the more you show up, the more you go up. And that's what's going to happen when you do that with the community. The O is the open house. Yes, same deal. Open houses, pretty big. You have to prep it. We do have a course on it, so we just kind of push everybody through that, and it's kind of up to them to run that play. But you're right. It's a lot of marketing up front. There's door knocking. There's signs. There's the whole deal. There, you got to go Facebook Live. You got to do a lot more than what you're used to doing. But it's going to have results, right? And we're already seeing it. And the M is the meet. MEET. So your core advocates, the people that you love, the people that you trust, all of that, you got to start setting meetings with them and no agenda, just talking with them, because we're coming out of a world where we've been virtual forever and ever and ever, that we have to go back to face, and it's been great. And honestly, a lot of the things that we're seeing too, because we're meeting with agents at other firms, again, no, just people that I was with in the same firm, and just meeting and just talking shop and all the stuff. And they're like, hey, you know, tell me a little bit more. It is not even meaning to go that route, but going face to face. So running comms this year, what is comm in the military, right? Communication. So it all kind of rolls in, and that's what we do. And today's little thing to do a touchdown on comm, TD, do a TD touchdown for the comms, which is tell your story. All the open houses, all the meet people, take a selfie, all going into the community, do a video. You got to tell your story on social media. If you tie that, that's where you're going to collect more leads than you can handle. Run the play, but add a touchdown to it. The tell your story. And then the D is document. Document everything. What did you do right? What did you not do right? What could you do better after you do said activity? And I think that's my little quick spiel of what I think is going to be killer and is proven to be killer in 2023.
No, absolutely. And I think you both brought a lot of great points. And I heard from both of you open house. And I think, especially with open houses, a lot of agents may not have the success that they could have because they take that time to go work on other things. They might sit behind their computer and then they let everybody just kind of browse through the home. And one of the best scripts that I learned a long time ago is when, as soon as somebody walks in, say, what's your favorite room in the house? Oh, the kitchen? Awesome. Let's go take a look at it. Right. And give them that tour instead of just using that opportunity to maybe sit there and play on TikTok or do some admin work, right? Because you've got to be meaningful, right? So, and for those of you that are watching, if you have any questions or anything that you are liking that you're here, go ahead and like and give us a little bit of love, but comment if you have any specific questions on some of the plays that Jaybee and Ruben are talking about. But again, in a lot of strategy sessions that I'm doing with agents right now, I think because we've gotten spoiled over the last couple of years, that really the market has just been hot and heavy, if you will. And so now it's like, okay, where did all the business go? And usually when I meet with an agent, one of my first questions is, what did you do 90 days ago to generate the business that you have or don't have right now? And a lot of times there's a consistency that they're not actively lead generating. So I want to shift gears a little bit. There's no lack of ways to lead generate. I think if you and I, if we all sat here and just spouted out different ways to get leads, we could easily come over 100 different ways, right? I think Gene Frederick actually has a book, 101 Ways to Lead Generate. If you want to go look it up, it's on Amazon. But the reality is you want to narrow it down and pick 3 or 4. I think we all talked about that you can actively work on. But how do you hold yourself accountable to do the boring activities, to do the prospecting, to go to the open houses and maybe miss some family events? What are some of the tactical things that you guys are seeing to really hold yourself accountable?
So for me, I've got to have a big enough why and a big enough goal. I mean, I'm not going to wake up every day and just be motivated to do this. Sometimes it's very mundane and it's a little boring and it's a little quiet. It also can be very rewarding, but I have to always have my why and kind of go back to it. My kind of general rule of thumb is I am spending 2 hours a day lead generating, and I'm spending another hour to 2 hours a day on my follow-up. So I think that's what I teach my team. That's what I've done personally when I was in production. I think you've kind of got to break that up to where, maybe my lead gen time is in the morning, and then my follow-up is after that or later in the afternoon. I do try to reserve my mornings for office time and then afternoon being in the field. I feel like it's easier to schedule that way. So it's kind of what we do.
So knowing your big why, because that's going to push you past kind of doing the boring. I mean, I think yesterday I made 55 calls. Absolutely boring, right? But it's going to get me a step closer to my goals. Ruben, what about you?
Yeah, I've had people shadow me in the past, and they were like, "Where's all the glitz and glamour and everything?" I'm like, "Dude, this is it. This is the same repetitive mess every single day." And so it's not the sexiest thing in the world. But my wife said something not too long ago, probably a month ago, that kind of hit me. Which I was like, "Yeah, you're right." Because raise your hand if you had a passion for real estate when you got in. Right. Exactly. And people say, chase your passion. You got to chase your passion. I'm like, but I wasn't passionate about real estate. I wasn't passionate. The only reason I dived into real estate was because it could pull me out of my current situation.
Mhm.
Right. So it's like, she was like, yeah, you either got to have your back against the wall to where it is no choice. You have to make it for the ones who really, really succeed.
Right.
Or the ones who are passionate about it, love like meeting people and the whole thing. I had zero passion for all of that. I just wanted to get out of my current situation. Now, have I learned to love it? Yes. Real estate is absolutely amazing, and I throw all the love towards real estate now, but not in the beginning. So you have to be in a place to where you're almost in pain, right? They say people will move away from pain faster than they'll move towards pleasure. And
Right.
you'll see that all the time. And that's where, like, you got to find that deep within you. If you don't make it, what happens to your family? If you don't make this type of money, what happens to your dog who needs that surgery, right? Like, you got to make it bigger than you. And then we go a step further, which is PC. Once you make the promise, yep, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 10 door knockings and 10 minutes before this open house, whatever that is. You have to add a C to it too, right? Which is, you got to add it, or you got to make a promise to somebody that could care less about your feelings, is going to hold you accountable to what you just said. And then the C is the calendar. When are you going to get it done by? You got to squeeze time once you make that commitment. They say activities fill the time allowed. So if you give it 4 months, it's going to take you 4 months to door knock 10 doors. 10 minutes, it's going to take you 10 minutes. So going back to the beginning, you got to find that pain. You got to find that pain, that thing that hurts. We have some of our agents literally write apology letters to their family that they didn't do what they said that they were going to do today, only if they don't do that thing. So they write the letter, they feel the emotion, they feel how bad it sucks to go tell their 4-year-old daughter that, I'm sorry, your dad wasn't a dad today to make this thing happen for you to get the blah, 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 blah. Pain's what's going to push you to do it. You have to be able to wake up to do it because you know it's bigger than you. And then if you still can't do it, attach a PC to it. And that's what's helped us scale when we're not feeling it.
Well, I think that's a great point, and from both of you, because these are the exact conversations that I have with agents every day. JB, you mentioned your why. What is your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? And as Ruben said, it's got to be bigger than you, and you've got to pull emotion to it, because otherwise, when you don't feel like doing it, if it's too generic, if it's I want to make $200,000 this year, okay, why is that so important to you? it's to pay off medical bills. Maybe it's to build your family a new home. Maybe it's to take your entire family on a Disney vacation. Whatever it is, you've got to attach something emotional to it. But then as Ruben mentioned, and I always ask agents this, I'm like, so what happens if we're talking a year from now and you don't hit that goal? What's going to happen? And we got to put a dagger to the heart a little bit. And I know some people are watching, there's like, whoa, that might be a little bit tough, but that's reality, because although accountability partners are great, here's the reality. Nobody's going to care more about your goals than yourself, for you and your family. So you have to show up every single day. And so I think we brought a lot of great points. Number one, going back to the basics, getting back to the foundational skills. I think that's incredibly important. Number two, there's not a lack of ways to lead generate, is from what I'm hearing from both of you. We just have to narrow it down. And then the follow-up, which I want to get to next, but also having your goal, and then what happens if you don't reach that goal. So let's say we do start lead generating we have 1,000 leads coming in a month, which is absolutely astronomical number, but exactly.
Right.
But what happens next? How do we create systems and processes in the follow-up? Because we know that the leads aren't worth anything if we're not converting those leads.
Well, I think that's where that becomes absolutely imperative, that you have a CRM system. There's no way that you can keep up with that many and keep touching on that many people if you don't have that kind of system. So, we have a CRM that we have automated drip campaigns. We have, that system tells us, reminds us every couple days to call or to email or to text or to, it sends the text for us or sends the email. So I think you've got to find systems that kind of help you with that. I don't know how you would do a business without that. I've been on a system like that since 2010, just 3 years after I got my license, and I can't imagine not having something like that, because we're human. We cannot remember all this up here.
I don't know any top producer, honestly, that doesn't work out of a CRM. Something, right?
You really have to
start with a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I don't know a business that doesn't use a CRM. So if you want to be a business, you need to get a CRM. I had a friend come up to me, and they're selling I won't say what type of business, but they're selling the business, and they were like, hey, do you know anybody who wants to buy it? And I said, hey, how big's your CRM? How many clients you got? Like, they were like, I don't have one. And I was like, well, you don't have a business. What are you selling? You have to have that follow-up and that relationship with your people in a systemized way within a CRM to be able to sell it, just as much as a lawyer sells a practice or a pediatrician sells a practice to sell in their database. So think about that. Y'all are a business. Do you consider yourself a business? Do you consider yourself worthy of it? Yes, you do. Go get a CRM. Doesn't matter which one. But follow-up's huge for us. Yeah, that's everything. They say fortune's in the
follow-up.
So success leaves clues. We just follow it, right? And the way that we do it, we do 5 follow-ups, at least for now. It may change. We do life updates every 2 months, meaning how's life, how's the kids, how's all the things. Or if you got anything coming up this weekend, or do you want to go to the car show type deal. Ask for business, we ask for business. So we got to do that. We ask for talent. We got to do that because talent's hard to find. About 100 to 1, by the way. So you gotta knock on a lot of doors to get that talent. And then side hustle. What do you own? Do you have an Airbnb? Do you rent out an RV? Do you have a restaurant you want to bring people to? It's that type of deal, right? Like you're building other relationships outside of real estate. And then the 5, which we've just added this year, which is meet, MEET. How often are we meeting with them? And so it's we come up with the idea here, but we allow the CRM to hold the weight and to remind us when to do these actual follow-ups.
I think that's incredibly important. And I like that you said treat it as a business, because I would say a lot of agents are not actually treating it as a business, or maybe didn't learn some of those skills of being a business owner, right? I mean, yeah, we're all there.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
Guilty as charged, right? And that's why I teach a lot of business planning classes, because I had to learn everything on my own, which I think we're all probably in that same boat. So for those that are watching it, I think the things that we're saying today is you've got to be out there. You've got to be prospecting. You have to be doing income producing activities. You need to be I heard belly to belly, elbow to elbow, face to face with people instead of just sitting back and hoping things come in. What are kind of the last tips of advice that you have for people that they're like, I sold 10 million last year and right now I'm at 0. I don't know what to do.
So I have a couple things, just like you said, Micah, a little while ago, like there's all these different ways to lead generate. I think what a lot of agents do is they try everything for just a minute,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got to give it time. You've got to be consistent with it. So rather than going this way with everything, pick those 3 to 5 things and go really deep. I think that's where a lot of agents were like, well, that didn't work. That didn't work. You did it for 2 weekends. That's, it takes a minute. So pick those things and stay really consistent with whatever and consult with top agents, talk to people that in the industry that you trust and ask what they're doing and just go all in on whatever those sources are and get a CRM. I promise it's gonna be amazing.
I keep hearing that 3-letter word. I feel like everybody should have a CRM, right?
And you guys, a CRM can be like $25 a month, or it can be $1,000 a month. They're all over the place, but just get one.
Or a spreadsheet. If that's where you
Yes.
get started, that's better than nothing, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, when the founder of EXP is telling us to go back to basics, go into your database, my CRM might be a thing. So,
And he is a billionaire, by the way. So we might
You should listen.
might
Oh,
know.
I have one more thing that I think is very important on social media. I know that we had kind of talked about that briefly. Social media is great, but I think as realtors, so often it's like sold, pending, closed. Look at me. I'm not like, nobody cares about that.
Or you look too busy and people are afraid to reach out to you, by the way.
Right. So I feel like in this year, getting back to the basics, we have to, a lot of that content has to be to educate the consumer. What are their pain points? Oh my gosh, interest rates. Okay, well, let's really educate them on really what that looks like. So I think it's very big about educating buyers through that process, sellers through the process, talk about interest rates, all the pain points, find out what they are, use Chat GPT.
By the way, we're having class on next week, and then I know Ruben just did one. So if you don't know what Chat GPT is, reach out to us.
It's amazing. It gives you great starting points to have a ton of talking points for content for videos. So I really just think with social this year needs to be more focused on educating the consumer.
So I'm hearing that with Chat GPT now, if you're not a great content creator, there's no excuses anymore, right?
Yes. Because I've been playing with it and it is very interesting. It is, it's amazing.
Awesome. Ruben, what about you? Any last words?
Just agreed. I mean, consistency always, but in the middle of it, it doesn't feel like it. You're going to get in your own way. I know I have and still do. It's only when months and months have passed by and you're like, oh man, it did work. But it's such a grind in the middle of it. But I would also say, what JB said, which is basically if you're going from 10 million to 0-1, there's probably an issue somewhere. But what we're finding now, the ones who are producing and where their business is going down, there is a conversation of what are we doing with attracting more talent into your business, because you need to free up some time to go out there and get more business. And what would be a better way than hand off some buyers and all this to a talented person that could eventually help you scale this whole thing? And so attaching a who to your activities may help you scale this year as well. So everything, like every task that you have, just look at it and write who next to it. Most of it might be you, but what you might find is that some of this stuff doesn't have to be you. You could scale it. You could give it to somebody else. You can attract talented people into your world. They could be a master at open houses, which you weren't. They could be a master at social media, which you weren't. There's so much power in that partnership. So that's what we're talking to with our top agents right now, is more of a one-on-one. And like, what does it look like for the attracting of the talent within your own organization, your own world, your own business? And it's helping them scale and keep that number going up because someone else is seeing blind spots that they couldn't necessarily see as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's incredibly important. That's one of the questions I was actually going to ask you, Ruben, is when you get in your own way, how do you get out? How do you identify that? How do you see it?
I think you'll. It just depends on the task, but I feel like, you just won't have the energy for it. And maybe at times that's where you sit back and be like, well, who else could do this? Like, because I'm a master at being in this other realm. Why I shouldn't be doing this. Well, that's fine, but at the moment, if you can't do it, just suck it up, take a deep breath, go through it knowing it's not your strong suit until you get to the point to where you could bring on somebody. But maybe that is a checkup from the neck up and you look at it like, man, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I need to be staying in my highest energy zone. Jake Dixon
Yeah.
says that they you get uncomfortable to grow, right? And he was like, I want to challenge that a little bit. And it kind of challenged me too, because I always say that. He's like, what if you stayed in your strengths, your comfort, the things that you do really well? Could you scale faster? And I was like, oh, sick. So
Yeah.
it's now got me changing. Yeah. I was like, no, you got to get uncomfortable. You got to do things you never wanted to do, which is true in the beginning. But as you start
Right.
to scale and stuff, and you start to grow, you could attach a who to it, and that's where the magic really starts to happen. Because then you're working with somebody who loves that part that you hated. You love what you love, and it starts to grow even faster.
Yes. Have you guys, so I just, I've got a really good friend I've had for about 25 years. He's a builder. He's an investor. He just came out with a book, but he had me order the book called The Who, Not the How.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys read that?
I have
I
not.
just started it, so I can't, but he was just telling me about, like, we were having the same conversation. So I've ordered the book.
No, I think that's incredibly important. And like I said, it's about finding your strength or what I call your superpower. What is your superpower? But in the beginning, you're right, Ruben. We've got to do a little bit of everything. So it's about doing that, but not staying in that zone is what I'm hearing from you guys. So thank you both so much. So much. I know we went a little bit over today, but that's because there was a lot of great conversation going on. If you have any further questions or really want to learn from these masters, JB, Ruben, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
You can find me on Facebook, JB Hawkins, or you can find me on Instagram, JB Hawkins. Yeah, hit me up. If you have questions or anything, just let me know.
Yeah, insane. That's why I put it down here. Just proven by Ruben everywhere. And I'm sure it'll pop up somewhere. But if you're having trouble finding your superpower and what it is, something I did my first year in real estate, and I'll end it on this, is every client I worked with, I would always send an email, or it was an email, but it was like built template type deal. And in it would ask, what did you like best about me? Like, what did you like best? And what came back more often than not, probably 99% of the time, was like, we loved your energy. And I'm like, oh, so I just need to tap into more just face to face and just being me and like doing what I do. But that's what helped me. That's what helped me identify, because I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. So for all of y'all, ask your friends, ask your family, ask your clients, past clients, what did you like best about working with me? And that will help you identify your superpower.
Boom. There you go. Couldn't did it better. So a lot of great nuggets. If you're new to this, we do Winners Wednesday where we interview top producers every single week. But we also do this specific session the second Wednesday of every single month. If you want to learn more about joining our group, the Legacy Builders, where there's tons of training like this, go ahead and reach out to JB and Ruben. And again, thank you guys so much. I appreciate both of you and hope you have a great rest of your week.
Go out there and
Well,
kill it.
guys, thank you, Micah. Thanks, Ruben.
Thank you.